Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So, we're going to talk about rewriting our story. I did some writings years ago on rewriting your story, recreating. There's many people out that are talking about that because we're in a time and energy of rewriting our story. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Healing Affirmations for the Soul. I am Kim, and I want to give you a scripture to look at that's going to help with rewriting or moving forward in the story. Whatever your story it is, it could be unemployment, it could be divorce, it could be that you didn't have children, childlessness, but you can rewrite your story. And this is a scripture that is going to be a part of you rewriting. Focus on becoming the next version of God's will. A lot of times people get stuck in the story in the past. A lot of times people don't know that they have to flow with the current of God in the spirit, move with the spirit, right? So 5:22 of Galatians says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there is no law. So the story always changes. If you go into Galatians, by the way, and you look at 5:19, what you're going to find is a version of ourselves that we came in the world being, right? And some people will disagree, but I found this to be true for myself. It's going to be up to each individual to look at this for themselves, what they need to change to get to the next part of their life. And sometimes we need help, right? But in 5:19, it talks about pride, envy, and striving, anger, and bitterness. A lot of times people are looking at others outside, not looking at themselves. Now, what I found is that in teaching, my coaches, the people that I work with, it's not just that I found, others have seen it, but they needed understanding of what they were seeing, such as the mirror. You can be angry, and that energy is going to pull anger to you. If you do not take care of the anger inside of you, it's going to pull someone that is going to mirror that anger to you. It's much like Narcissus when he looked in the pond and he's seeing his reflection and he was in love with himself. He couldn't see anything else. He saw his reflection. So a lot of people talk about narcissists, but it's hard for the people to talk about how I have a narcissistic behavior and how it came to me in the flesh. You see, because it came to me in the flesh, somebody to help me understand myself, to pull that information out of me so that I could see that I had been behaving toxic. So oftentimes in one story, we're blaming others, right? But in the story of change, we begin to accept what we need to change and leave the other things behind, or leave the others behind in what is being said or done. And that's not even saying leave people behind. It's simply saying leave the old mindset behind, because the mindset that I had when I was a child had people in my life at that time. But as I grew up, my story changed and the friends also changed. Some of the people even came back in my life at a later date, but it changed because there was changes happening in me. So the storyline changes. Do you go along with it, or do you try to hold on to the old? It's going to be up to us to understand that, because if unemployment is something that you're dealing with right now, you might be being called into entrepreneurship. And one of the factors might be that you need to get over fear. You and I, this is not, a directive. It's just helping us to get to the next place in our life so that we can feel better about ourselves. If the storyline meant that you were suffering from depression in the past, have you taken that on into your story now, or do you realize that your story has changed? It's like actors on a stage, but it's your real life. Sometimes you're acting in the inauthentic part of you, or unauthentic, and you have to wake up. And the wake up call comes through hardships. It really does, because sometimes I did not want to accept that I was changing, which meant that I needed to grow up to the fact, or accept that I have a new line to play, whichever way it makes sense to you. Um, Growth is not easy, you know, and it will cause pain. It's just like a child growing in the womb. You feel the pain. And so, those that are going through the change of their story, there is birthing pains. You feel the birthing pains. I encourage us not to be alone at this time. I encourage us, only if God has you in isolation, to stay in isolation, but reach out and touch, and also reach out and touch your friends. You know what I'm saying? And also look at Galatians 5:19 and see how you can change you. Maybe taking that honest look at yourself and saying, well, maybe she or he was toxic because I do have some toxicity in me. Or maybe I am in a relationship or a work relationship where anger is circulating in the place, because I need to look at anger in me. I can't change people, but I can change me. That's part of changing the story. So I hope that you all get something out of it. If you need any assistance, you can email me at ifwbuilders@gmail.com, and we can talk about it. I do coaching classes. I also have other coaches that I can offer to you with different capabilities. And so I will talk to you guys later. You be blessed and have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. Share and love on somebody today, because we need it. I need it. Thank you. Bye-bye.